Hi everyone, this is 7th grade Elevate lesson 62. Today we are determining percentages using double number lines. So this intro is pretty extensive. I definitely want you to spend some time on this so students understand exactly what is going on. So percentages can be calculated using double number lines. The key to constructing these double number lines is to understand that 100% represents the whole amount. What does 100% mean? It represents the whole amount. Okay, so let's look at this example right here. Notice that I didn't read the whole thing. I'm reading what's important for students to know so that we can maximize practice time. Franklin participated in a school fundraiser selling cookies. Out of the 50 cookies he sold, how many cookies did he sell? 50. He sold a total of how many? 50. So 50 is equal to our total, okay? Out of the 50 cookies he sold, 10% were chocolate chip. This is important information. 10% chocolate chip, 20% snickerdoodle, 5 oatmeal, 30 cookies with sugar. Very important. Now, this piece kids would get, right? So there's a total of 50. 35 have been accounted for. So there's another 15 that we're not sure about. We're not sure what percent of the 15 are chocolate chip, or what percent of them are snickerdoodle. So this is where the double number line comes into play. Okay, so it says first we break 100% into equal parts on our tape diagram. So students are going to first create the percent number line from 0 to 100. Skip counting by tens. 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Okay? It says the scenario tells us that Franklin sold a total of 50 cookies for the fundraiser. That means 50 is a total, or the total amount of cookies sold. This is called a double number line. So we're talking about percents, and we're also talking about our cookies. 0% should mean that there are no cookies. So that's 0. 100% should mean that there are 50 cookies. That should be very easy for kids to understand. However, now we have to figure out how we're going to partition the top number line. We divided this up into tens, so we're going to divide this up into tens too. So we are going to partition. These lines should line up. And we've accounted for 0, and we've accounted for 50. We then have to figure out how we label the rest of these numbers. So we know 0 is 1, and we know that 50 is our other endpoint, but we need to figure out, what are we skip counting by? Are we skip counting by tens as well? So 0, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Nope, because 50 is supposed to be over here. Because we have broken this up into 10 parts, we have to partition into 10 parts up here as well. So we're going to do 50 divided by 10. That gives us 5, which means that we are skip counting by 5. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45. Okay? So from our double number line, we can see quite a few things. So again, we already know that 5 cookies were oatmeal. We know that 30 cookies were sugar. We're trying to figure out how many is 10% and how many is 20%, right? So we're looking at our 10 and our 20. How many cookies are 20%? How many cookies are 10%? Well, 10% is the same thing as 5 cookies. So chocolate chip, we have 5 cookies. And then 20% is the same as 10 cookies. So our snickerdoodles, we had 10 snickerdoodle cookies. Now, 5 cookies is also oatmeal. And 30 cookies were our sugar cookies. So that was actually 60% of our cookies were sugar cookies. That was a lot, but we will jump into our model, we will jump into this question based on how extensive your model was. So I want you to give students 5 minutes based on your intro to productively struggle through this page, right? The physical lines have already been drawn for students. The double number line has been drawn. It also has been partitioned. So within these 5 minutes, here's what we should expect. Even without reading the problem, students should know how to skip count for the percents. That is the bare minimum. Okay? Then we should see them trying to productively struggle through the question. It says a student completed her homework for the week in 160 minutes. So 160 total minutes. So you should see that students are even able to identify this. 160 is the same as 100%. Then students should try to figure out, how am I going to then partition? If I know this is 0 and I know this is 160, what am I skip counting by? Well, if your example up at the top was clear, students should know that they are also going to be dividing by 10 because of how this is partitioned into 10 parts. And if they are dividing by 10, 160 divided by 10 is 16. So they are going to be skip counting by 16. Students may struggle with that. Just tell them to do repeated addition, or 16 times 1, 16 times 2, 16 times 3, to figure out that. So the bare minimum is students should be able to get here. Then from there, we can do some work, right? So it says 10% of the time was spent reading. Well, where's 10%? 10% is right here. Okay, that is equivalent to 16 minutes. It says 5% of the time was spent completing journalism. Where's 5%? Oh, well, 5% is actually between 0 and 10. What's halfway between 0 and 16? 8. So that's 8 minutes. Okay, so students are going to have to make sense of the double number line based on their drawing. And so 5 minutes, see what they can do, and then you work through this problem with them. There is no exit ticket for the day because there are not enough problems to practice for this lesson. And then for this lesson, for this fluency, students are multiplying and dividing fractions. Just like yesterday, it is a lot of questions. The division may take some time, so choose 1 or 2 columns for students to do, and then go over maybe 2 or 3 questions.